Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome.
Well, it is a morning. It is a morning as we do this today. Absolutely.
It is. And it's a lovely morning because it's not baking hot. And I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad that we're on the same weather plane. Even though you and I are a few hours apart, I started the show a couple weeks ago saying, man, it's a nice, cool morning. And you quickly would say, where the hell are you living?
Yeah.
And then your weather hit me a few hours later, and it was extremely hot. You were right. We're like in the low 90s all of a sudden. But
Yeah.
no, we both have the same kind of overcast day. I prefer it. I'll be honest with you. I prefer this kind of Southern California morning weather. And, in the afternoon, I of course want it to get warm, but I don't know. Are you one of those where it affects your day if you wake up and it's cold to you, or what is cold
Well,
to you?
as in my old lady body here, I appreciate the colder weather because I just hate being so hot all the time. It's just so uncomfortable and gross. Whereas when I was younger, I lived for the hot weather. But also, I can't take too much of the dreary. Otherwise, I'm like completely depleted of energy and spirit, and I'm like depressed. Like you have to drag me out of bed. So I like a happy medium, but I do love the fall.
How's your week going so far? You watching a bunch of stuff? Are you like what's happening right now?
Well, yes, but we will talk about that later, or we want to talk about that
No,
now?
no, no, no. I'll get to what you're watching later. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I always the reason I ask these questions, Nicole, is I've had kids your age, and I know it's what is their week like, not what is your week like.
That's right. So what I've been doing with my daughter, interestingly enough, is I started like picking movies that I think like just to try out to see if she likes. And we've had some hit and misses, but so I started pulling up older things. So we watch a movie before we go to bed every night. It's been our ritual for about 2 weeks now. But so I showed her like Death Becomes Her. She loved it. Little Miss Sunshine. We've just been going through. I showed her Stand By Me. So we've been going through all these movies, and it's so funny like how inappropriate. She looks at me and I'm like, but it's a kid's movie. Like, this is, the truth is, whether you're watching Little Miss Sunshine or 16 Candles, you are dealing with inappropriateness on all levels.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, you have to pick and choose, and it's, I don't know. So she's got a little bit of the same humor as me, but she'll be like, excuse me, and like in Little Miss Sunshine, the grandpa snorts heroin, he's like a heroin. She's like, and then she's like, again, when he's doing it again. It's just, it's really funny. But which brings me to we've been going through Halloween movies and older movies that I appreciate. So I thought of Monster Squad. Everybody loved that movie. It's a huge hit. I was like, she's gonna love this. It's the perfect tie-in of like, old school good with Halloween. So we watched that last night, and that was a lot of fun and she also finds it fun when I say like I know, like when I know certain people, in the film and stuff
that is
like
cool.
that. And it's like when we were all kids, and so Monster Squad, I knew quite a few of those guys back in the day. So I reached out and I was like, to my friend Andre Gower and Ryan Lambert, and I'm like, what are you guys doing Wednesday? Here they are. I mean, we have been friends.
We're doing this.
We're doing this. We have been friends since we were like just able to drive. Maybe Andre, we were like
you and I have been
little.
Friends way before that.
Yeah, like little kids doing commercials, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Early
I don't know how many McDonald's commercials I've seen Andre in, but it's a lot.
We go. It goes way, way back. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, so it was so fun to watch you guys last night. It was so fun, and Ryan. What?
That's the first. Is that the first time your daughter saw the film?
That's the first time she's seen it. Yeah. And it's the first time I've seen it in years and years and years, like I'm not very good about looking back and rewatching stuff. So it was a kick. And like you were so inappropriate taking pictures of the next door neighbor girl, and I'm sitting there and she's like, oh, and it just and Hervey with using the F word like every few minutes, and she's looking at me and I'm going, listen, suck it up. This is what it was like.
It's time. for sure.
It was the time. It wasn't weird, and that totally was not offensive back then. I mean, I still don't find it offensive, in all honesty, because we grew up that way. But the little ones are like, wait, what? So we got a kick out of that. It was good. It was good fun.
Yeah, we've definitely had a good run over this last, I don't know, since 2006-07, when the Monster Squad thing kind of reignited of that same conversation, and it's actually just gotten even stronger and stronger. Because we were very surprised, when it started to resurface and people started talking about it again, that they had those questions, and then give it another 5, 6, 10, 12, 15 years, and it's just people are like, what is this? And I was like, you have to understand, it was a completely different day. And but I think what we've done, because Ryan and I get it all the time, and I think we've navigated through it pretty well and had those conversations, and we address it and explain it a little bit, because there's a whole second generation of Monster Squad fans that dig it, but they also understand. But then there's some that just don't get it. It's like, this is awful.
Because they weren't alive then, right?
That's right.
These are people that probably weren't born then.
They weren't alive. Also, like, what my answer usually is like I didn't write it. I didn't write the thing. And also,
my character, wasn't he?
Saying to what Andre was saying is, we just hear a lot of, you shouldn't, that shouldn't have happened. You shouldn't have said those things. It's like, well, it was of its time. And that's the way that kids talked. And there really is nothing you can do about it. So sit down and next question. We can have the conversation, but let's do it over here, and let's move on from that for a second and talk about that. Let's rejoice in why we're all here speaking about this thing. Let's not go into some political nonsense that really doesn't even make sense. Sorry your butt hurt about something that happened before you were alive, but thanks for coming.
And you're right. And you know what? You're 100% right. And that's why, like, I'm introducing my daughter to these things, because the nostalgia and the fun of the movie making back then and the storytelling back then way overrides and supersedes like any like inappropriateness. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it is like it completely. Like, I was questioning about 16 Candles, and my friend was like, go for it, just do it, because it is what it is, and look how we turned out. And I was like, well, yeah, that's
that might be the problem.
That's not saying much, but look how we turned out. But it is true. Like, obviously 16 Candles has its own problems as well, but the fact of the matter is like, it's a hard thing to describe to people what it was like then that weren't there. It's not easy. It is rough to hear now, but it really, I mean, if we're talking about like Long Duck Dong or something like that, even the actor it has problems with it, but it's there, it's on film, it's captured. I've taught a few like classes, acting classes for some kids, like younger kids, either teens or younger. And they always, it's strange. They always say the same thing. I would say, well, these are the films you need to watch. You need to watch Touch of Evil. You need to watch, blah, blah, and then go through the 80s stuff. And they always say the same thing. Well, that was before I was born. I go, guess what? It was before I was born too. Touch of Evil was in the, you know what I mean? Like, Casablanca is, you need to watch films. You want to be an actor, you need to watch films. And sometimes they're going to be problematic for you. And you need to get past that, because film is film, and the real world is the real world. Sorry.
That's right. It's a lot like traveling. It's like it gives you culture. It's like with music, with films, and it's also like you're still torn, like with musicians, right? Someone might be totally offending, and they might be this horrible person in real life, but they made this beautiful music, and you're there like, does one have anything to do with the other? And I always kind of, fortunately or unfortunately, I fall on the side of just appreciating the art for what the art is, and trying to put everything else aside. That's just
the only way to do it. And it's it's frustrating, and at the same time I understand it. So it's sort of a double-edged sword and a little bit of a catch-22, I think. Whether or not you think that someone is doing something great in their profession, and then whatever's happening in their real life is questionable. But you can't deny the art. It sucks,
Right.
but you really can't. That's my philosophy on the whole thing. You don't just like take someone out of your earworms or your brain holes because of something that they're doing in their real life. What they've done in their professional life and their artistic life is there's something to be said for that. You can't deny it. It's still there. It's always going to be there, and you can't close your eyes.
I think something that we realized a long time ago, and we've talked about a bunch. If we're talking about, that's all. Ryan got general there with an overall thing, and there's a comment. There's many comments with that, is because it's spot on. But with Monster Squad in particular, it's very interesting if you actually pay attention to what's happening. The kind of uncomfortable language or the name calling between buddies, that's allowed.
Yeah.
And that's been in every civilization, every culture, every buddy group, and they can do it with each other. But an outsider can't do it because you're not allowed. You get a license. You get a license because they're your crew. So what happens in Monster Squad really, and Ryan made an interesting observation of this years and years ago, is Ryan's character is the only one that doesn't do any of that, and because he may understand it better, or Rudy character, but everybody that is kind of the shithead, which is just Hervey and Adam Carl really in this story, they all get their comeuppance. They all get what's coming to them. They get put down. They get they lose, and
Right.
they get kind of put in their place. And I think that's sort of what leads up to the whole thing, because everybody's so offended at that opening scene with Horace and EJ, but they all know it's like, have you ever been to an elementary school?
I mean, I think the bullying in the movie is way less than what's happening in real life right now.
That's right.
Let's not get that twisted.
We should all go back to the playground and be fine.
Yeah, the fighting and the bullying and the name calling is so different. Okay, fine, the word maybe is not acceptable today, but it was way more innocent than what you see now. And
today's terrible. Yeah. Teenagers today have a hard time because they're getting it from all over the place, and it's just awful. But I think Monster Squad's a little innocuous compared to that, really.
Yes. Yes. Well, I have to say, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. Where did you guys shoot that? Was a lot of that on the back lot of Universal, or where were you guys?
All the interior stage stuff was at Culver Studios. And then we were on back lot of Universal, back lot of Warner Brothers, ranch at Warner Brothers a little bit. And then a lot of the exterior stuff in the backyard treehouse type stuff that was actual practical treehouse was out in Santa Clarita. It's like Stevenson's Ranch, which is now I think there's like a school and a Costco right where we shot that. But it's, that's all super developed. And, we used to go shoot stuff out there all the time, because it was kind of like wilderness, but now it's not. And then in and around, we had exterior shot in Santa Monica. The school was actually in Santa Monica. Schools in Santa Monica. So they just put a lot of different trees and peat moss everywhere to make it look like not Santa Monica.
I loved it. I figured you had to be at Warner Brothers Ranch and you had to be at Universal. Did you see that they just tore all Warner Brothers Ranch down?
I know.
It's gone. It's
gotta have condos.
Sad. They're building sound stages.
Right, because there's no one wants exterior stuff anymore. You can just put a big LED wall up and be wherever you want to be. So
yeah, it was really depressing.
I thought when they were talking about tearing the ranch down that they were just gonna put condos there. So.
No, it's still the studio.
I'm glad they changed it, because the first because I used to live right around the corner, and I was like, you can't take any of this out.
Yeah, it's all gone.
Stages are more important now.
Sad. No.
I am sad because it's also my neighborhood. It is also my neighborhood. So it's all those trees are gone. But gentrification, it is what it is.
But you know, it's also we're talking about stuff how young kids have a problem with like movies of today. We're talking very generational, and also get off my lawn, like don't change Warner's rent. Like
Yeah.
this shit's totally different than in the 40s when we weren't even here. So it's like everything changes. So it's you know, there's no more trolley tracks on Ventura Boulevard anymore either, but there should be.
Facts. I know.
It's like, all the old lots would have been really cool to be on, you know, but we didn't have lunch with Buster Keaton.
Yeah. Well, and it's
You
like
did.
they're probably also dated too. It's all so very dated. Like,
Yeah.
I was trying to explain that to my little one. She's like, "How can they take all that history away?" And I was like, "Yeah, but the houses probably looked really dated. So it's like build a whole new town or put sound stages that they're actually going to use. You know?"
Sure, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. But yeah, I mean, change is change. Progress happens, and we all
Yes.
get
Goodbye,
older.
Lethal Weapon House.
That's right. Lethal
Wait, what
Weapon
did you say?
House. Yeah, on the street on the ranch, like the Monster Squad exterior house of my house is around the curve, because you know everything's a curve, so you don't see straight angles. And then Lethal Weapon House is there. My Monster Squad house is there. The house from the middle is next to the Monster Squad house. So it's all this. You're like, oh yeah, I know that. And everybody recognizes the. It's on the opposite side of where Ryan's action's happening at the end of Monster Squad, on the other side of Town Square, when Dracula comes up and does this kind of walk and takes out a bunch of sheriff's dudes. That's the Growing Pains house. That's Wisteria Lane. That's, you know, it's everything. And then if you flip around from the church, there's actually a big kind of like brick building with columns, and that's Town Hall. That's like Dukes of Hazzard Square. That was Boss Hogg's office. And that's also where that Town Square is where they shot The Music Man. You know,
Where they shot what?
Preston, The Music Man. So I mean, this
And
is
Back to the Future,
giant...
right? Back to the Future. I remember when they redid that whole Town Square. I was working there, and they made it all futuristic. I mean, so much history.
And everybody knows it from the Gilmore Girls.
Oh,
That's all.
okay.
I remember when we shot the scene. There's a scene when you know, the cops are all coming around. The Wolfman's like killing everyone, and I'm just sort of scrambling around with the gun and the bullet and then I'm gonna spoiler alert, kill the Wolfman. Jonathan Gries, great actor. Fred Decker, the director, came up to me and he said, "You know, I picked this spot for you, right here, where your knees are bent and you're like about to kill the Wolfman. This is the exact spot that James Dean shot Rebel Without a Cause."
Cool.
And I said, cool. I can't. What are you talking? I went back and looked at him like, oh my God, it is. This is exactly where in the very beginning, when he's playing with the monkey. He's laying on the ground. That's where it is. It's right there.
Oh, that's so cool. Have you ever done like a side-by-side picture thing?
I've never done that. I would do that. I did do a side-by-side once. I posted something about me and Dustin from Stranger Things. He does Neverending Story in Stranger Things, and I did Neverending Story on Kids Incorporated. So I put those together, and someone says, "I liked Justin's better," and I was like, "It's really side by side I've ever done." Like, okay, I'm done. I guess I don't count anymore. Thank you.
No.
They weren't born yet. They weren't born yet. They don't count.
They weren't born yet. Stranger Things is kind of like the Monster Squad, I guess. Like, no, it is the Monster Squad. They completely ripped it off.
Yeah.
Why aren't I on Stranger Things?
This is true.
This is true.
Why aren't we all on Stranger Things?
It's because no one's gonna watch it. We're not Stranger Things. We're older things.
Older Stranger Things.
It's called Stranger Odors. You know, like, what is that? You're like, I think it's mentholatum.
Oh my
God. And Doan's back pills.
Hey,
oh God.
Ryan, Andre, I'm curious to know, what was the one thing that happened where you said, this is the career I want to jump into? Because, you know, we always say everybody has a story, but there's always that life moment where you're saying, boy, I love entertainment. This is what I want to do.
I think for me it was I can't remember a time when I didn't want to do it, because I know that Nicole and Andre have been doing it a long time professionally, but I was like one of those kids that like grew up singing in like the chorus at school, or I'd do the plays, and then I eventually wound up in a sort of after school. It wasn't part of the school, but after school I would go to a place called Bill Edwards On Stage Kids, and it was like just straight up musical comedy kind of thing, like "Hello, my baby," like I had the top hat and the vest and the whole thing, and we did 2 shows a year, and I loved it. It taught me basically how to be on stage. How do you get up there on in front of people and perform? And that's the place that made me sort of figure that out. And then I went on one audition finally, a professional audition, and I got it. It was Kids Incorporated, and then I was on TV for 5 years. So I really learned all of those skills pretty quickly. Mostly had to be in front of a camera and like blocking, and we all know how that all goes. There's a lot of things people don't, they don't see the truth behind the viewing of whatever they're seeing. They don't know how hard it was to get into that. I mean, Kids Incorporated was a grueling schedule. It was Monday through Saturday, 1 day off to learn your lines for the next day. We did 3 episodes a week. We did 6 live performances, 3 production numbers, and then whatever you want to call it, acting in the scenes. But it was a grueling. I'm 13. I'm 13, and I wasn't even the youngest kid, and we figured it all out, and to have to go through that kind of regime, and then all of a sudden you're like, now I'm going to go do this movie, Monster Squad, or some other thing. It was like, oh, this is cake compared to what I did then. So everyone always asks me, because I've been in bands my whole life as well. Basically that's what I've been doing my whole life. After the whole acting process, everyone says, "Are you scared to get up on stage?" And I said, "Huh? Scared? I've been doing this since I was 5." There's no fear. Fear is the batteries, is what I always say. Fear is the batteries. That's how you get through it. You have like those butterflies in your stomach, and you're like, yeah, here we go, boom, and we're on. Action. Whether it's performing on stage, whether it's performing in front of a camera, fear really is like the batteries. I'm gonna get a tattoo.
And it's everybody has similar or yet completely different kind of paths or sparks. And before we started recording, we were talking, Nicole and I, how far back we go to 6, 7, 8 years old, whatever. I started when I was 5, and you asked like Dave, your question.
You had like the
You're
bang. You had the bangs, and like you were so cute.
Yeah, we all remember. But Dave, you asked what, like, when did you figure that out? I was like, I always joke with people. I was like, well, I was sitting in my office on the 5th floor and thinking about what I wanted to do. And I said, let's do this, because I'm turning 5.5 in a month, and let's figure it out. There's not really, I don't think there was really, I don't know if there was a choice. I was just in it because my sister is older than I am. And Nicole knows my sister for years. And she worked when she was a kid a bunch. And she started off, like gangbusters when she was very, very young as well. And she's actually her biggest thing. She's the little girl in the Towering Inferno. Wow. She's the one that gets saved by Paul Newman and, through this giant Irwin Allen disaster movie. And so I was actually on that set, but I had just been born. And So when I was 5, she's still working and churning out commercials and auditions every day. And, back in the day, I mean, I don't know if people actually realize, Nicole, especially young actors, but all the 20 and 30 somethings, they're all chunks. They have no idea what our lives were like to audition, to get out of school or in summer, jump in a car and drive all over LA for 3, 4, 5 auditions a day. And you go from a feature, and then you do a commercial, and then you do print, and then you go back to another commercial, and then you go back to read for a TV show. And I started all that when I was 5, and did a bunch of commercials and some TV and some TV movies, because those were things back in the day. We had like Sunday night at the movies on ABC, and that was your life. I mean, that was, Ryan and I always talk about, I did a lot of other stuff that wasn't industry related as well. I ended up having a good balance of what I call it's not real life, because that's, or non-industry life. It's kind of, I played sports. I went to school when I wasn't working. I played organized, little league and basketball and soccer and things like that. And, we all had friends that were outside of the industry as well. But look, when you grew up with each other, like, our group, especially if you're within like a 2 or 3, maybe 4-year range when you're kids, that's your people. And that's who you see almost every day, whether it's for 5 minutes at an audition, or at someone's house for a 10th birthday party, or coming over to, work on a set with somebody. And, that's what Nicole and I and, Ryan and all of our, that's what we did. And that's how we know each other. And it's very interesting, because if you look at it, there's about 0.0001% of the kids on the planet that get to do that. So it's we're in a very, very small group.
And the industry is so different, because I think when kids go on auditions now, there's like hundreds and hundreds of kids. Whereas when we would go, it was the same group of kids most of the time, So it was like the parents knew each other. It was all friendly. There were so many like dinners after this long interview, after, this audition took forever, when we go to dinner, like there was just, it was such a tight knit.
I used to walk in a room, whether like my mom just dropped me off or she would come with me. And I'd see all the kids sitting in the, waiting. Just, there used to be a time when we used to have to go into the casting, and you would read the sides that you're cold reading. Maybe you get like 5 minutes to read the thing. And all the kids are just like mumbling to themselves in the hallways and things like that. And then I'd always look and I go, shit, Christian Slater's here. Let's just go home.
Yeah.
I'm literally, he would always he just always got everything I was up for. Like I'd be doing, they'd be like, oh, we loved you. You were great. We might make you the friend. And I go, oh, okay. Oh, we casted the friend. You guys are too similar, so we need the weirdo off to the side to be different than Christian. Like, cool, okay. Can I go home now?
I think that makes a good point of Nicole's mentioning that it was a smaller group, and it was
there. Who else was there?
It was everybody. Some popped early, some popped later, some never popped, some never happened. Look, I think back, and there's kids that you see in those rooms every day that never did anything, but you saw them every single day, and you almost feel bad. But like Nicole's point, there was I think there was a lot less people, a lot less kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I was kind of, and I could be totally wrong, but it's interesting, like, to get, because Ryan's heard me mention this, and be interesting to hear Nicole's feedback and Dave's, but of the whole ball of wax of kids that were either kids, teenagers, or older teenagers of our era, I think 20% of those kids did 80% of the work.
Yeah.
Because like Ryan said, Chris kept getting it's the same kids did all the work. And I think we're sitting here, and I think we were fortunate enough to be in that 20%. Yeah. Because there were a lot, even though it was smaller, there's just a massive amount of kids in this industry now. It's ridiculous. But there's a massive amount of programming. But I think if you did anything more than once, that you're, in that, 20, 15% of kids that did the bulk of the work. And I think that that goes with what Nicole was saying and what Ryan was saying about you seeing the same people, and you walk in and you go, ah, shit. But it's also nice sometimes. Trust me, there's days that Nicole Eggert walked into a cat and all the other going, damn it, Nicole Eggert's here. So,
or you knew somebody booked something, so you knew they were working, and you were like, okay, these auditions are going to be open.
That's right. You're like, oh, that person's busy.
Right. Oh, good. They're doing a film. Maybe I can get in on this one.
That's
yeah,
right.
they're on hold for so-and-so, or they're away on location. I got shot.
That's right.
Yeah.
Christian
But
Slater's in
everybody
China.
read for everything.
This one.
Everybody read for the same stuff. We were all in the same.
It's
crazy.
It's like I think back and I'm like, Tanya Crow and I always went up against each other, and like two totally opposite, looks and vibes and everything like that. But we were always on the same auditions, and it's interesting, and it's funny because it was like competitive, but it was like this friendly. There was no like hard feelings, and it wasn't like nasty like things can be these days.
No,
yeah, I think that's completely different.
Like that,
yeah, I don't think it was at all. I don't think anybody really. I think people gave a shit, but I don't think they gave a shit like that, because I don't want to say we didn't understand, but because I think we knew there'd be an audition tomorrow. Like we didn't get this done today. There's probably 3 tomorrow.
Yeah,
and we all got very lucky.
The competitiveness was different then, because we all loved each other. Like I'd walk in, I'd see Feldman, I'd see Haim, I'd see Christian, I'd see Steven Dorff. I'm like, yeah, one of us is going to get this. Right. And usually it wasn't me. But nowadays, like I kind of do. Now it's all self-tapes, as we know. And I'm in the Pacific Northwest now. I live in Washington. I still do self-tapes, I'm LA, I'm Seattle, I'm whatever, Vancouver, I'm Atlanta, I'm New Orleans, like wherever you want to shoot, I'll get there if you want me to come. But I audition for things now. And then since I love watching content, I watch like 3,000 movies and shows and everything a day. I'll go and I will look and see who actually got the part. And like I've seen things which is so incredible now, where when I read it, I did my thing. I made my choices and I did my thing. And then I watched the thing, and it's a 30-year-old black woman. I'm like, wait, what? Was I in the running? Or like it's just like they were just like anybody. Which is I think is beautiful. I love that idea of just like, let's just see who is, I think it should be the best person for the job. And I know there's a lot of diversity issues and especially with the Oscars now always have to be, you have to have the criteria is like to get an Oscar. Like, who gives a crap? Like, just let's do the best job we possibly can. But there is something to be said for just throwing it out there. Let's see let's see who's the best let's see what we can get. Let's not just narrow it down to like, a 52-year-old white male, disgusting bum from,
if it says with an eye patch, you're in now. It's great. You're like, we just got to wait for that character.
No animosity whatsoever.
But I think
I love
interesting.
I love it all. I think it's gorgeous that it's being changed. I kind of hope that it kind of dies down a little bit and find its spot. But it's good to explore the possibilities of what it could actually be. Whereas, like I was saying, and what Andre was saying was like, you walk into a room and he was like, I look at like 15 little white punks.
All wearing the same thing because the character
all wearing
description
the exact same thing. We all know each other. We always know each other's names, and it's changed so much now. And I think it's for the better.
And then you jump in the car and switch clothes to go to your next audition for the next character description. You're like, oh, you're the cheerleader, and everybody would show up in a cheerleading outfit because you just had all these generic shit in your closet or in the trunk.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
I didn't-
true.
And our parents would drive us around and be changing clothes in the back seat.
I just wore a leather jacket to every other.
That's why. That's all.
Like, this is what you get. If you want this, this is it.
You did it opposite. You said, eventually I'm going to read for the thing that's the cool kid with the leather jacket, and then I'm going to get it.
I'm either going to be the cool guy or the cool bully. That was it. Pretty much it.
You know, it's really funny that you say that, Andre, too, because my mom used to make me change out there. She'd have all these outfits in the car. And one time I went on a Coppertone commercial and I was little. It's probably 4 or 5 years old. And they were like, okay, everybody get your bathing suits on. And I was like, we're looking at each other and I didn't have a bathing suit. So off in my underwear, Nicole and her little chonies went in that room and I booked the commercial. Topless in my underwear. Yeah, I got it.
Coppertone, baby?
Yeah. That's how far back we go. Cancer tone. Okay.
Yeah. Now look.
Well, they make sunblock. Listen, I'm a devoted sunblock, Coppertone sunblock purchaser.
Now it's they were right back then. We should be wearing it, right? It's I mean, I'm out. I used to not, and then now I'm like, yeah, just slather we go. But because I'm out, if I'm playing golf or something, I'm like, yeah, I should probably put a little on.
Yeah, it's super important.
Because we grew up in LA, we're always in this. It's just there's never not sun.
Also, too, the sun is different. Like I cannot go to the beach without getting burned. And I put up a canopy. I wear long sleeves. I put stuff all over me, and I still am sunburned when I come home. So I'm like, shit is just not the same anymore. You know, I used to be like with a silver blanket and baby oil all over me, and I'd kind of have a tan. And now it's like I'm like, you know, in a burqa, and I'm sunburned.
Still get sunburned. Yeah, it's tough. It sucks. It sucks. Like your back hurts, your foot hurts. Especially when we're talking about dressing. Like I could I change clothes in the backseat of a car today? I don't know. I'm not. It's a little harder. It's a little harder. It's a little harder. As you're in traffic on the 101. Yeah, and that's the other thing I don't think people realize.
I don't care.
Like Ryan said, you get to read for all this stuff now remotely and self-tape. You can be in your spot and send it all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day, we used to have to and if you had multiple auditions in a day, they were never, the next one was never close to where you're at. It's always on the opposite side of town and you're zigzagging everywhere. And, but it's very interesting because that's how I learned how to get around LA. You know, you know how to drive, you know the shortcuts, you know things to avoid. It was really cool because I used to, way before phones and GPS and everything, we had the Thomas Guide.
I was just about to say it. That's the Thomas Guide.
And my job was to navigate. I had to find where we're going and then say how to get there. And I don't think we problem solve like that anymore because we just talk to Siri and ask her where to go.
It's true.
And it's a big, big difference. And look, I've got one of my best friends now. Brian knows Henry very well. Henry's lived in LA for like 15 years and still doesn't know how to get home.
Because he just relies on Navi, right? Like
where am I? How do I get to my house? I'm like, how do you get to your house? I can tell you how to get to my best friend's house in 5th grade from here. What are you talking about? How do you get to your own house?
Andre, I was just talking to Marlene, my mom, and she said, I had to drive you to the set every day. I'm like, yeah, I know. She's like, you know what time I had to actually be there? We lived in Simi Valley. Yep. And I had to be at Sunset Gower at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
It was completely dark when I woke up, but I'm like a child. I'm like, go do the thing, like nowadays I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? 5 a.m.? Like, no, I don't do 5 a.m. I barely did this at 10 a.m.
This is a big accomplishment. We were like, yes.
This is huge. This is a huge thing.
Thank you.
I think you make a good point because people don't realize.
Kind of a master shot for you.
I don't think people realize being a kid in a production is different than being an adult in a production. everybody's got to get there early, but sometimes the kids actually had to be there earlier than anybody because you had to start school or you had to do other shit that was in the way, and they just had to get it. You know, you had to, like Ryan, you had to be there at 5 for Kids Inc. And I remember being 9 and 10 when I was on Young and Restless for 2 years or something, and having to go, of course, and at Television Center, at CBS, right by the Grove, and the Grove wasn't there then, of course, and I lived in the North Valley, and you had to get up at 4:35 a.m. to get there at 6, and that's not close, and these are early. It's all work. Like Ryan was saying, like Kids Inc. was this crazy schedule of performing and not only lyrics but choreography and recording the songs earlier. That's insane. Like I don't think they realize. And,
I know. And if you didn't get all your school hours in, you had to stay later or until you got all your school hours in. Yeah. And we were driving from Huntington Beach. So it was like we would get out and then it would be traffic the whole way in, traffic the whole way home. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you lived in that's super deep. The Huntington Beach was not close.
No.
But we were kind of all. Yeah.
Yeah. Until I was a regular on Charles in Charge. And then I was like, I can't do this. Like I honestly can't do this. And I got a little apartment in Studio City at like 14 and a half. So, and
because where was Charles in Charge? CBS Radford? Where was that?
Universal.
It was a
Universal. That's why I was like, when I was watching your movie last night, I was we used to ride our bike around, on lunch and on our breaks, and knew that lot like the back of my hand. So I was like, that's
the other thing a lot of kids don't get
Grimes
to do.
Grimes visit you all the time.
Yeah.
I used to go Grimes on Universal lot when he was shooting some show that with Elliot Gould that I was on a bunch as his like friend or whatever. And we would ride our bikes over to see you.
Yeah. It was so fun. And Scott Grimes would be right over there and Key.
Yeah, and Scott would
and Scott.
Do you remember? You're not going to remember this. Okay. Do you remember when me, you, Scott, and Heather like sort of snuck into Universal after hours? We were already there, but we snuck into the actual like park.
Yes.
And like walked around.
This became a habit of mine.
Played laser tag. You and I were a team, and we were fighting Scott and his sister Heather. And we were like, you and I were in the Psycho House at one point. Like, they're coming around the corner. And we like, here they come. We had laser tag. And then we were in like New York Street or something, and that's when we got busted. The security guard was like, "Hey, you got out of here!" And
get lost,
run!
You should totally audition for the security guard because you did that very well.
I am. That's usually what I get now. Security guard number 2.
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of weird when that happens. I did that when I because I was living full time in North Carolina for so many years. And there was a lot of stuff being shot in North Carolina. And, so I would audition regularly, but it was for huge shows like Under the Dome and Army Wives and all these things that were shooting in Atlanta, North Carolina, and anything on the CW, like Dawson's Creek and all this shit. But it was like for guard number 3. Guard number 3. I was like, well, okay.
We've come such a long way.
It's like, wait. But I also appreciate and realize I've literally been the first name on a call sheet and the last. It's okay. It's fine. Because I've literally been. At least
you're on the call sheet, right?
I've been the lowest set PA also as well. It's like I reversed my career. I started out at the top of a call sheet, and then I worked production so much for a while for Friends. I'm like, wait, don't even put me on the call sheet. Like, we have to. It's a call sheet. Like, no, don't put me on the call. It's like key set PA, Andre Gower. I'm like, that's fine. Sandbags got to get moved around. Pop-up tents got to pop. It's fine.
The last thing Andre and I did together, there was no call sheet.
No budget for call sheet.
We here at 10.
I'm surprised there was a camera. There was a camera.
Are we doing an actual film, or are we just hanging out?
Or did a bunch of people just want us to show up in your small town and just be in your house? Like, which is this?
Middle
we can
of
do it. Just let us know what we're doing.
Yeah. Ryan's fabulous in that movie, by the way.
What is it? What's the project?
What did I play? Like a priest?
You're the bishop. You're the head priest. I'm just the regular priest.
A Jewish bishop.
The Jewish bishop. And you pulled it off well, but it was a small film that's shot in Ohio called The Demons Within.
Okay.
And they finished it. Like it's been shown and it's trying to festival around, but it was an interesting kind of a setup. And we get this a lot, especially in the genre world, because people will contact us and be like, will you ever be in our movie? Like, I'm making a movie, would you be in my movie? And for years Ryan and I were like, no. And
I can give you a 6-pack.
A lot of times you shouldn't be. That's right. No. And then we started thinking about it actually a year or two before, or actually it was a little bit earlier, like before COVID started. You may have heard of it. We were like, hey, we enjoy doing this. We see so many people as we travel around. Let's start instead of just closing the door automatically because we can't do it because it's a low budget, it's a local type of thing. Let's kind of lean into it a little bit and see what can happen. And so I said, let's come up with 3 questions when these people ask us. It's like, one is, do you actually have a project? Do you have financing, and do you have a script, and are you actually making a movie? And then 2, do you have a start date where you're hitting a button on a camera? And then 3, are you willing to do the hours worth of legwork and paperwork that SAG actors can do your movie? Because the whole thing doesn't have to be you. Like, you just have to cover the talent locally and get these approvals. And it's not that much work. And if you answer 3 to all of those things, we'll read your project. And most of the time, the first question negates it because they're like, hey, I want to will you be in my movie? And you're like,
can you?
And then they attach your name and put you on a deck and do all those things. Like, you don't have a movie yet.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you're trying to make a movie. And when you get to that point, then call because we can look into it. But you don't have a movie yet. And it's very, very tough to spend 8 months, DMing somebody on Facebook. Like, I'm trying to get finance. I called my uncle. Like, I think his like neighbor, like, I love it. But when you're ready, then we totally want to embrace this. And so we started doing that, and then COVID shut everything down.
Yeah. Yes.
But then we I said, look, COVID started to get over a little bit, and these people call me all the time and ask about me and Ryan, and I was like, well, let's look at this thing. Can you answer these 3 questions? And if you can, then let's look at these projects, and maybe we'll go to the middle of nowhere and have fun for a couple of days. And because I think it's interesting, like I said, being part of a small group, or if you can make someone's experience different or better, why not? I mean, Ryan, what are you doing Wednesday? Nothing. Like, let's go. Let's go to Ohio. Shoot a movie.
Yeah, I mean, but listen, that's an actor's life, right? I mean, you're either like completely booked and you have no life, or you're just wide open waiting to have no life,
Yeah, and it's fun to fill it, and hopefully those projects see the light of day, and sometimes they never do. But I think, especially when you're in kind of our situation where you've got a following, or you've got some cred in a genre or something, that you can bring something to something that they never thought they had access to. Why not? Like, check it out. At least give it a little bit of thought. And you'll learn very quickly if you should be very, very far away from a project or not. But in about 9 out of 10, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna skip this. But every once in a while they're fun. I did. Ryan, we did Demons Within. We did our friend. I know, Ryan. I know, but we did our friend Derek Johnson's movie. That ended up being like a day. I was supposed to be the lead. My friend Derek Johnson has made a handful of really good documentaries, and he was making this kind of cool small town noir crime thing because he lives in a small town in Texas. And he called me in April of 2020, 21 and said, "What are you doing in June?" And I said, or July. I said, "I don't know." He's like, "I'm writing a script. You're the lead. I'm shooting it. I've got everything together. Let's go." I was like, "I'm in." And so I went into like the gym and the pool. I started working out and I was like, I gotta, not look terrible. And I was getting ready to shoot this movie. And the week before I was supposed to go be the lead in this movie for my friend Derek is when I had the heart attack.
Oh.
And so that I was like, I was like, well, can I? Like, they let me out of the hospital. Can I go do this movie? And but luckily I didn't wait for a week to have that heart attack. Because if I had had the heart attack in the middle of East Texas with Derek, they would have just had to throw me in the back of the truck because it would have been curtains. And but that was very interesting. So obviously I didn't get to do that movie, but fast forward a year and a half, he's finished the movie, but he wants Ryan and I to come and do like an extra scene. So we were in Texas anyway. So we drove like 3 hours to his house and shot these 2 scenes to plug into his finished movie that I was supposed to be the lead. And so it's like, you plug things like that. Who knows? And I did another movie. It's fun. You can, if you have the time and the timing works out. And I did another small thing for, ironically, Texas again. But I was like, here's the deal. I'm going to North Carolina from Vegas on these dates. If you fly me to Dallas for this day and then fly me to, get me to where I'm going, then I'll come. And he's like, done. And I actually like that. That movie's fun. That one's called Retro Freaks, and it's
called what?
Really,
Retro what?
Retro Freaks, and it is, but it's a very kind of tongue-in-cheek, demon kind of silly movie that takes place in the toy collectible world, and so I just leaned into it and went completely bonkers with it, and you're supposed to play this like total throwback 80s guy that's working in this toy store. And I was like, yeah, I got this.
I know that guy.
So I said, I'm going to try. And this is the one time, like, I never get to try anything like weird. And I told him, I was like, look, I'm thinking of something. And if it totally sucks, just let me know. And I did it. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I think it's sort of like Shatner had a kid with Clint Eastwood. And then I'm going to do that.
Well, we have to check this out. Where is it? Is it done? Is it finished? And can we?
Yeah,
watch
it's done. They're in, well, I don't think it's out to see. I think they're still kind of shopping it and festivaling a little bit, but it was fun. And Ryan and I are supposed to be in Retro Freaks 2. Because so many questions are left unanswered in Retro Freaks 1. You got to have a follow up. But Dave is like, what are you guys? What are you talking about? Like, none of this makes sense to regular, normal human beings.
No, it all makes sense. I keep thinking about the kids that you told me that everybody got a job, but once in a while there are kids in that room that never got a job, and you guys are complaining about driving around LA, and I'm thinking the moms are going, damn it, Danny, are you ever going to fucking land anything? You're fucking wasting all my time and all my gas every fucking day at 3:30 in the morning, and nothing ever happens. Christian Slater's working all the time.
That's right. And trust me, there were those parents out there.
Oh yeah.
Why didn't you get that commercial?
I used to drive my mom.
Nicole Eggert was in the room. I didn't have a shot.
My mom used to hate because I don't know if you remember this, Nicole, but like when we were in high school together, like I was like a full Beastie Boy. So like my mom used to drive. I'm blasting License to Ill at like 5 a.m. My mom's like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to blow my brains out. I can't stand it. My mom's like, I don't know why I still know every lyric to License to Ill and check your head. Like every time I see the Beastie Boys, I like it's a trigger warning for my mother. It's like the Beastie Boys, 5 a.m. driving from Cedar Valley, because I'm like,
PTSD.
I'm screaming fucking, Beastie Boys in the car, and I look like a Beastie. I have the jackets, and we were sponsored by Adidas through Monster Squad, so I got all the Beastie Boy gear.
Hey, we have to make Marlene karaoke some Beastie Boys.
If you look at Nicole and I's yearbook, like every picture of me, I'm like, what's up, yo? Like, what am I doing?
Well, you'll appreciate this. In the car, I have a 12-year-old, and she's, very like, she's got her own style. And certain songs come on, and it's always this moment of like, what is she going to do? Is she going to reach for the dial? And Beastie Boys came on yesterday, and she turned it up. And I was like, Yes.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, because some of it she's like,
Hero.
nope.
She went up a few notches in my book just now.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
She's so
Mine too.
adorable.
Thank you. I was watching the whole Adidas. I was thinking, wow, they really sponsored Monster Squad. Andre's got like the old school fresh jacket on, the satin jacket,
Yep.
and then all the Adidas shoe boxes in the fight scenes. Yeah,
Yep.
it was funny.
Yeah, a good old product placement.
Yeah, good old
And,
product placement right in your face. Yeah, it was good.
The only
That's
problem
why
with
that's why me and Hervey got to go into the Adidas rooms and I want the Beastie Boy jacket, the one with the little patch right here. Like that's a coveted item. Like, I want it. I'm an actor. Eat. And they were like, here, Jesus, take it. My God, what a brat.
But those are good perks of being in that spot, because
Those are
you
good
get to
perks.
drive down to the office and grab bags of stuff and take it home. And the only problem with the deal, like, they were super fashionable and super kind of trendy, but their actual performance shoes were terrible. And they would so I'm on the other side of it. It's like, I need some cleats, I need some basketball shoes, and all their stuff sucked.
Okay.
It was they just weren't. So I was stuck with all this mediocre equipment, but all the fashionable stuff was rad. You go to our house and
All I
you
wanted
walk
was
into
a
Ryan and mine's room. We have 100 pairs of shoes, and you're like, this is ridiculous. It's like,
Those
I
were
have
good old
one
days.
pair of shoe right now. I wear one pair of shoes. And I just replaced the other one because I walked through them. Now shoes only have there's mileage on shoes now, apparently. The more you spend on a pair of running or trail shoes, the less wear you get out of it now, and they just fall apart.
They sure do. I'll tell you something. I had a pair and I wore them through the pandemic, hiking all the time. And we went just recently, and I was trying to go up and down like the hills, and I was sliding. I mean, I fell on my ass. I rolled down a little bit. My daughter's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, I'm fine. And I look at the bottom of the shoe, and it's just flat. Like no tread whatsoever. And I'm like, how did I do that? Like, I've never done that in my life, but apparently, yes, there are miles on shoes.
There's miles on shoes now. But so
that's the name of this episode, Miles on Shoes.
Miles on shoes. No tread left.
No tread.
Slipping, falling on our ass. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's
unbelievable.
So
you guys do a lot of like cons, huh? You guys go, Andre and Ryan, I see go to a lot of cons all over the country, right? All over the US, and they meet with fans and sign autographs. And what else do you guys tell me a little bit about that life?
That's an interesting world.
The thing is like, for so many years, it was, this film, if we're going to talk about Monster Squad, was sort of like just dead. Like it bombed when it came out. So it was dead. And then we both eventually kind of quit the business for a long time and went our separate ways. And, I was in bands my whole life, from the time I was 17 or 18 until like today. I've been playing music, and it was it 2006?
Yeah.
Andre? Yeah. This wonderful person named Eric. What's his name?
Eric Vespi.
Eric Vespi.
Eric Vespi.
He Austin, Texas, and he put together a screening at the Alamo Draft House in Austin, Texas, and he got in touch with all of us, me, Andre, Ashley Bang, and Fred Decker, the director, and invited us to come. And when I got that email, I was like, "You want to do what?" He's like, "We're going to show the film. We're going to have a screening." And I was like, "Great." I forgot about that. Like, what do you have fun? She's like, "No, we want to fly you out. And you're going to do like a Q&A. I'm like, "Q&A to who? Who knows about this?" Like, there's going to be like 4 people in the audience, maybe. Turned out, he goes, "We're going to fly you out. We're going to put you up in a hotel. We're going to, you're going to be fed. You're going to come and you're going to do the Q&A. You're going to be taken care of like a rock star." And I was like, wow, okay. Well, and I hadn't seen Andre in years. I was like, well, this will be fun. Just, for shits and giggles. Let's do it. So I went 2 sold out screenings on Easter weekend, like
Wow.
full on Beatles, like people chasing us down the street. We're signing 1,000 things. I was like, what is happening? That somehow this film like snowballed into some like cult classic that like kids are just like losing their minds, especially like gateway horror kids. They loved it when they were kids on VHS, and it trickled down to their kids and their kid, and it just became this like phenomenon of like underground cult horror. And it's just been from 2006 till today. It's just not. It's only grown. It's so bizarre. I've never seen. It's Rocky Horror. It's insane. People just love this thing, and of course, at this point in time, October being, this is it. I get like 3,500 more likes. People are like starting to write in. I just watched it 6 times today. It becomes like this annual horror Halloween phenomenon. And what else can you ask for? You always want to be part of something that's
lasting.
Lasting.
Yeah.
That's going to go on forever, long after both of my eyeballs fall out of my head and I can't see anymore. You want it to like, you want to be part of something like that, and you get to do that. We thought so when we go to those conventions, we get to talk to the people that families come up to us. Oh my God, I'm meeting the people. I'm like, do you know what I'm going to do when I go home? And like, I'm like, what I mean? So it's interesting to see the dynamic of these just families and just people that have just grown up with this thing. It's kind of unbelievable. They cry. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like,
yeah.
Why is this happening? Why didn't it happen back then? Because it bombed.
Well, sometimes it's the timing of things, right? Like it just, and you say like it bombed when it came out, but then I bet it was huge on VHS.
It had a lot to do with marketing, which you will be behind Andre right? You can see the Wolfman's Got Nards poster. That is the definition of what happened with the Monster Squad. It literally is a blueprint of like how it went down, and everyone should go watch it. Amazon Prime.
It's streaming everywhere. It's streaming everywhere. I looked it up. I pulled it up on my Google, and it's streaming in a lot of places, guys.
It will not only show you what happened to this film, but it will show you what happens to these types of films. Where people get attached to something and they love it throughout their entire lives. And they have the posters and they want to see you and they want to meet you and they want to talk to you. And, every almost 99.999% of people you meet, you just like want to hug them.
Yeah.
You can't believe it.
It's really interesting. We thought this kind of 2006, 2007 would end. We were like, oh, this is neat. And it's going to be done in like 6 months. And like Ryan said, it hasn't stopped. Like we were supposed to be in Phoenix this weekend for a thing. I'm still there's a screening in Phoenix that I'm going to. Ryan can't travel right now, but we would have both been in Phoenix, and there'd be there's going to be 150 people in a theater in Tempe, and bringing stuff to sign. And this is literally the 36th or 37th year anniversary year, and it's just as strong. Kino Lorber, if anybody's a physical media, collector, Kino Lorber's putting out a 4K new master release of Monster Squad next month. I don't know why they should release in October, but they're releasing it next month. They actually asked to include the documentary with it. So Wolfman's Got Nard's a part of that release, which is neat. And then they're actually, a lot of people don't know, but they're doing a secondary separate release of Wolfman's Got Nards, just a documentary, as a blue and a 4K, with the special features that no one's ever seen. So this just doesn't stop. Like it just keeps trucking, and it's
also people like, I believe that like a lot of people like things. The nostalgia factor for the 80s, and now I think it's flying into the 90s at a hardcore pace. I mean, Nicole, I mean, like there's got to be a Baywatch like resurgence of like the nostalgic, like heartfelt version of that. Why aren't they doing it again? Like it's going to happen.
I did it. It's it was just about to be shot.
Right?
Huh?
You did a documentary about it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's right before we were about to take it out to shop it, a huge somebody or other has it and wants to make an offer. So we're waiting on that this week. Yeah. And it's going to be exactly that. It's going to be a totally different look at the same project, but a look with fresh eyes, new, just different. And looking at it from 2000, we started in 2019, and looking back on it, and so nostalgia is huge. And also,
that didn't used to happen. It's like there's a point, like now everyone wants to do. For a long time, people want to do the 80s. Now we're doing the 90s. Like, what is the 2000s even look like? What's the nostalgic like original 2000s? Like, we kind of used to like the 60s. We kind of did the 70s, but now it's just like, when everybody just wants to go back, and see.
I think especially post-pandemic, I think the pandemic really made people look for happy times. It was so scary and so weird, and you're stuck in your house, so you go back to like what gave you the warm and fuzzies. That's my theory on it, anyways. And I don't think we've really still come out of that, because I think we're all still a little traumatized, whether we want to admit it or not. And everybody's still looking for that safe place, that happy place.
The 16 candles.
Yeah.
That's why
your Monster Squad is a perfect example too of like family fun. So it's like I look for, movies, and especially right now, holiday movies that we can all watch together and I don't fall asleep. You know what I mean? Because it's geared for the kids and I'm sound asleep. And she's like, Mom, it's something that we can all enjoy, all sit down. It's like I can't put on The Exorcist and then we go try to meet, The Exorcist and be like, look, let's get the autographs. It's different. It's got that different element, which is hard to come by and not done very much anymore. So I get it. I really get what the big deal is.
In your intro, mentioned Stand By Me. That's one of Andre's favorite films. And obviously it was Stephen King and Rob Reiner, but like there's something about those types of films that just resonate like forever. Like they just don't do things like that anymore. Like things come and go so fast. Yeah, sure. I watch a ton of content. I watch a ton of films. I'm like, that movie was great, and now I'm done. Like, those types of films are ones that you watch over and still to this day. Like you talk about 16 Candles. Like I think I just saw that like a week ago. Like you just keep rolling. It never ends, because those are the heartfeltness of those types of productions are unheard of these days, I think.
Yeah, they're rare.
I think Nicole mentioned it. It's not just the content or the word; it's the storytelling and the characters and the arcs that are literally archetypes that resonate with humans, and that's why they stick. We don't have a lot of that in the disposable content that we shuffle through today. I was mentioning before, like I traveled a bunch this summer on long haul flights, and you watch 2 or 3 movies on a flight. I went to Europe and back, and I watched 6 movies, and I only remember one of them. I can't name the other. I forgot the other ones I watched, and I'm like, either I'm getting old, or they didn't make an impact, and I just watched this disposable content. But
you're getting old.
I think Ryan mentions all the stuff that's what hits. That's what hit us when we were kids. Their archetypes, you know, it's all kind of Carl Jungian psychology, I guess, but which is, I guess, accurate. But and that longing for that nostalgia jag, and what I kind of came to realize as we were making Wolfman, is nostalgia. It kind of has a 30-year clock on it. And if you look at the cycles that go through, and like Ryan said, we are careening into nostalgia for the 90s right now. If you just step outside and watch how everybody's dressing, which is fine. But when we were kids, what was cool? The 50s.
Right.
You know, kids didn't have James Dean posters in 1974, you know, on their wall. They had it in 1984. And then we had Stand By Me, and you have Dirty Dancing, and you got some actual content that people liked because it touched on that 30-year nostalgia. And then you realize it's like, wait a minute. The kids that grew up in these eras, whatever they were, end up being the creatives and the writers and the directors of this content. And they want to make what they liked as kids and what made an impact on them. So they're going to make movies and write books and TV shows that reflect that. And it's about a 35-year cycle. And that's why we're in 90s now. And like Ryan, yes, what are the mid 2000s? We have to wait till 2035 or 2040 to find out.
Yeah.
You know, it's, you know, people are going to talk about, hey, remember the first iPhone? It's like,
yeah, it's going to be back.
You know, I have one. I have a 4 in my drawer. It's like this big. It's like, who scrolled on that? But that's what it's going to be. And, you know, by that time we'll have what? Neural link, and we'll be talking to each other by telepathy. But yeah, it's interesting to see that nostalgia kind of cycle, and everybody wants it because they want to go back to the time. And I mean, look what we had in you know, video games is one of the biggest industries in the world, and for about a 5 or 6 year time, everybody wanted 8-bit video games, which were old Atari and television games. They just wanted that old feel. Yeah, and you have all this technology and first-person amazing graphics, and they're like, we want this old shit.
Yeah,
because it was new, and then the olds like us wanted to play Pitfall again, and you know,
Pitfall. Oh my god, I want to play Pitfall right now, right now.
But nobody wants to play the ET Atari game because it ruined. It's terrible.
Andre,
and yes, I have been blamed for. I have been blamed.
The Atari game commercial. Yeah.
I have been blamed for ruining the Atari company because I was the kid in the commercial for the ET Atari game. I'm like, dude, I'm just the kid in the commercial.
I just got paid to be there.
That's right. But yeah, I think that nostalgia jag's great, and but I do think, I mean, it kind of ties into how we opened with, you know, us having kind of like this awesome shared experience when you really kind of look at it. Yeah, we all go do different things, but we can always go back to that, and no one else can mess with that. No one else can mess with going to, you know, you brought up like going to the Grimes house and jumping in the jacuzzi or the pool on someone's birthday, or meeting in my backyard for, you know, a big sheet cake and some ice cream or something, and, you know, hanging out and, you know, getting in Ryan's car and listening to the Beastie Boys while we're going to see a movie. Like no one, or growing up with the kids we grew up with, or seeing each other each day, or spending the weekend at your buddy's house that just happened to be in the biggest movie in the world that week or something. Yeah. It's, you know, it's very, it's neat. And not many people get that perspective or get that experience. And I love, like Ryan mentioned, you know, we all have our favorite movies. We were like, yeah, we read for that. Like, yeah, it's my favorite movie of all time. I wish I was in it. You know, it's like, and we all did that, but I think that's a neat connection to have to something that very few people have.
I agree. I feel very fortunate about that, because you can love and hate this industry, but that is one thing that you can't take away from us, is growing up like that in the.
Not at all. Yeah.
It'll never be like that again.
Yeah.
Feldman still owes me $3.
I don't know if you're gonna get it.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Maybe get Nicole on the hunt for that.
I've asked him like a bunch of times. Every time I see him, like, you gonna give me that $20, man? It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I thought so.
Yeah. Wild. Wild. Well, definitely go follow my friends here on. Want to give us your Instagrams?
I'm just my name 111, Ryan Lambert 111. That's
And
my
I'm
Instagram.
on Instagram. At Andre Gower official, because apparently there's some other Andre Gower unofficial. So I'm official.
Of course there is. You thought there wouldn't be? Of
I
course
don't know.
there
I
is.
was like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds? What are the odds? But
They're always
yeah, hit us up
so.
on Instagram. Follow us. Let us know. Celebrate. Watch this show more. Watch all your other friends, and
Yeah, and
you know,
definitely
come hang
download
out.
stream Monster Squad right now because it's available and it's definitely worth it. And if you've got little ones too, to introduce them to it. And we had a good time last night. So thanks, guys.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you,
Love
guys.
seeing you both. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Back at you.
Absolutely.
That was fun. That was cool.
Right? Yeah.
A lot of stories that you guys shared. The same I guess background as far as how you came up and where you are at now, and that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool to listen to you talk and jump in because I always have a million questions for you, but I wasn't part of the ride. These people were part of the ride, which was awesome to watch. It's interesting because for me, as I said, in my neighborhood, and I'm sure for a lot of people who grew up in Los Angeles, just like those two and like you, there are people who are in the acting field and they choose so much time to audition. Like I told you, in my neighborhood, we had Gary Coleman and we had David Schwimmer and we had people that you saw on TV and you just go, they're just an actor. It wasn't a big deal. Not like people, let's say, get in the car from Oklahoma in the summer, drive to LA and they're looking for a star.
Right.
Whereas they're just around, they're in the grocery store, they're on the street, they're, playing video games with you. And then to see that what it was like, for all three of you being so young and then riding this wave is interesting. It's fun to hear.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the conversation.
And it's fun for me too to be, in conversation with people who experience what I experienced. Because sometimes you're like, wait, was I crazy? Or like, was I alone in this? So it's always fun. Yeah, good time.
That was cool. All right, so we I want to finish out the show because there are questions we have for you. The obviously the listeners have sent stuff to your mailbag, but I want to ask you real quick, what are you watching? Because for me, the question I have for you: did you watch the first show of the Real Housewives of New York reunion? Are you caught up on that?
Of course, I did. What planet do you think I'm on? I did watch it. Did you? You obviously did too, right?
I did watch. I'll give you my opinion first. Is that I wasn't a fan. I was hoping it would be better. Usually these reunions I can't wait because all the stuff's going to come out, and I just felt like the show I thought was kind of boring, and then I felt like the reunion's kind of boring because Andy picked the wrong characters for me, or Bravo picked the wrong characters to be on this show. There are about 2 or 3 people that I think should come back. Now, people are going to disagree with me, Nicole. You might be one of them, but I wasn't sold on all the personalities of this Housewives of New York.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a snooze fest for me. I feel like they're more worried about their look and their reputation, so to speak, which, listen, ladies, it's going to be it's all out there now, but to me, they feel like maybe it's more guarded, or they have like this facade put on a little bit more than I think the other cast members have in previous years. And I think that's what I'm kind, because I've been like, couldn't put my finger on it, but I'm like, I think they're more concerned of their appearance and how they're coming across than really just laying it all out there. The one thing I was happy about, they called that Erin out a lot. Because listen, she really thinks a lot of herself, and that's nice. That's a good quality. I wish we could all have as much confidence in ourselves as she does. But she looks down on everybody else is the problem. And I always feel like she's looking down her nose at everybody, and she's so critical and judgmental. And it's kind of mean girl. It's kind of spoiled bratty to me. And so I was happy that they really kind of called her out on that. But yeah, it was kind of wah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see what the next one looks like, but
you know what I think is the interesting thing, since there was a Housewives of New York before with a different cast, and then these girls come in. These girls obviously know the show. Anyone who says I never watched the show, they're lying. I don't buy any of that crap. Come on, you're about to go on TV and they're going to pay you a certain amount of money and the country's going to watch. For you to go in and say, I do nothing, never saw an episode, that's a lie.
Well, if it's a lie, or you're the stupidest person on earth,
right?
Because why wouldn't you do your homework on the project you're about 100%. To start? I mean,
Nobody lives life that way, right? It
No,
doesn't make
I
any
hope
sense.
not. Yeah.
So, so I felt this season, these girls were all fame chasing, meaning they all knew what their lives were going to change, and they all were calculating on what they were going to put out there. And for me, as a viewer, I always say I like to watch the show with the attitude that, yeah, there's a camera there, but they have forgotten about the camera. They're just acting. They're just going through their daily lives. With these girls, it felt like they were always aware they were shooting.
Yeah.
Always. It wore me out.
And I think that Jenna is the only one that wasn't doing that, and that's probably why she shied away from most scenarios and most setups, because she just was like, I'm not really so into this. It'll be interesting to see if she comes back, because she's the only one that like didn't need this for any kind of
Exactly.
to further her career in any way. I think she kind of probably had a lot of second thoughts and doubts after signing on. But yeah, you're right. They all set up like, and I get it. You have to monetize and you have to, but it didn't feel organic. It didn't feel like, you have to get your following first and then you introduce your product, right? Isn't that, I think that's sort of the way it really needs to go. Yeah. And they didn't do that. They put one foot. Yeah. They didn't take the proper steps, but yeah, it was boring. Boring. Next. Winter House started.
Okay, yeah, that's what I want to ask you.
Winter House started, that should be interesting. I mean, all these, young late 20 somethings, and they took from all different shows and put them all in this house. So that'll be super messy. Super messy, but we'll see how that one goes. I'll definitely be watching.
Cool. Well, okay, so I'm into all the shows, as I said. I'm trying to catch up to everything, but I'm as they're coming out, I'm watching week by week. I'm trying to catch up with some of the stuff that I wasn't watching, just because I want to be on the same plane as you. But Salt Lake City, I've brought this up before to you, and I'm kind of amazed. Like, I've been watching Salt Lake City from the very beginning, and I thought for sure when the girl went to prison that the interest in the show would die down after maybe the first or second episode. But no, it's become crazy popular. Are you shocked that how popular Salt Lake City is?
No, it's the best one. It's the best one. We talked about this in the last episode. It's the best one. It's the perfect storm of strangeness and all their different strange religions. It works. It really does work. I kind of went rogue and I saw this show on Netflix called Surviving Paradise. Well, I turned that thing on and every time I was like in the room, I had it on. I binged the whole thing straight through.
Was that good?
Well, is all these young people that they brought to paradise and put them in this like gorgeous villa and thought, a lot of times these people go to these shows, they go in blindly. They don't tell them what the preface of the show is going to be. They don't always know what they're getting into. And this was one of those scenarios. Well, it turns out they bring them into this villa and then they're like, but you have to earn to be in this villa. And they put them out like sleeping in the wilderness, like down the hill. And they have to like sleep out in the, and then it's like between friendships and they have to vote each other back and forth and everything. Well, yeah, I got sucked right into that mess. But yeah, if you're bored, it's Surviving Paradise.
It's on Netflix, you said, correct?
It's on Netflix, yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. Let's get to your mailbag. Nicole's mailbag, again, perfectlytwistedpod.com. You sit and you want to write in questions. We're happy to read them. So I'm always interested, just like the listeners are. So here we go. This one, first one's from Denise. Denise writes, Nicole, I love your episode of Celeb Ghost Stories. Did what you describe actually happen? Are the stories on that show for real?
Okay, I think, everybody has got to understand that when you're watching a TV show, it is a produced TV show. No matter how real anybody tells you anything is on any of these shows ever, it's produced, it's edited, it's all kinds of things. Now, with that being said, yes, there were, I definitely heard things in that home. There were definitely happenings in that home. And was the story embellished for a TV show? Was I asked to embellish some things? All of these things are, it just, if I just told you that, like, what actually happened, which was, crazy in real life, is it really did happen, like hearing footsteps and hearing somebody running around in my attic. Yes, I heard it. But if I just sat there and told the camera that, I mean, snooze fest, right? Yeah. Like that's not a TV show. So, without, me spilling the entire beans. It's a TV show.
All right. Denise Parker has another question for you. Do you believe in or have you had any interest in paranormal or afterlife?
I do believe in it. I believe in something. There's something. I don't know what it is, and I try not to think too much about it. I feel like, when I'll tell you what, the first time I ever saw a dead body, I really looked at it and thought, there's got to be something else, like the soul. Like, we don't have all these feelings and all these emotions, in my opinion, to just end up that mass of like matter that was just lying there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like that spirit, all that emotional being, something has to happen there. Like, otherwise, what was that all for? So for me, I do believe in something. I have heard things. I kid you not. Now, could there have been squirrels? I don't know. Yeah, probably, maybe. I don't know, but I think it's very possible. And I just kind of feel like I won't bother you. You don't bother me. We can live
I
side
love
by
it.
side. This was their place first. They lived here. I get it. If their soul wants to like continue to live in their family home, you are welcome. You do you, I'll do me, and we can be cool.
Next question. Do you miss Hollywood from the 90s era?
Well, we just talked about this, right? Of course. I mean, I miss it all. But then I still enjoy today's programming and today's, movie and television making. It's just all evolved. I miss the 80s and 90s in general. So yes, a big, huge yes with an exclamation point.
Last question. If you knew you had only 1 month to live, what would you do?
Oh my God, that's so depressing. I don't like that question. I'm too
Well,
old to ask that question. You can ask a young person that question.
Well, you know
Um,
how people always ask if you had one day, and you're like, they would say live every day like it's your last day. I go, if I lived every day like it was my last day, I'd be running to the bank and writing, telling everyone, look, I'm gone in 24 hours. This is what you need to do. I'd just be preparing. I wouldn't want to live every day like that. I'd be panicking.
I
1 month
know.
though, you got 1 month. You have 30 days.
I guess
Are you
suppose,
traveling? Are you
yes,
what
I would
memories are you
grab my
creating?
girls. Yes, I would grab my girls. I would sell everything, give them every penny I had. I would take my girls and we'd go to Europe, I guess, and
Love it.
just enjoy each other's company and good food and beautiful sights, and go out like that.
Yeah, create as many memories as you can.
Yep, that would
Yep.
be it.
There you go.
That's
All
okay,
right.
great. Well, have a good day.
Well, I didn't ask the
I'm
question. That
I'm gonna
wasn't
be
me.
thinking
That was
about that
Suzanne.
all day now. That's oh my
Thanks,
God.
Suzanne.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a whole bunch.
If you have questions for Nicole, again, go to the website, perfectlytwistedpod.com, and you can sit there and ask Nicole a question through Nicole's mailbag. It's right there at the top of the page, but we do appreciate it.
Yes, I do. I'm kidding, Suzanne. I do appreciate it. It was a good question. I just too old for that.
Sad.
Yes. Well, don't forget to subscribe to us, like us, leave us a comment, and we love you, and we will see you next week.